This is the volume itself known as the Splat Splat Splat, or from an anime's perspective, the Stomp Stomp Stomp. Been talking about the light novels and the anime and just kind of comparing little bits and pieces as I've been going through, watching the anime and rereading the light novels again. This is the final part to season 3 itself. Goblin army scene, which to be honest was my favorite scene out of it all, because I just love the way Henry is in this massive clutch situation. She's backed against the wall essentially, and she has no other choice, and they're basically saying to use the horns to help rebuild a new town, but at the end she decides to use it because they're being ambushed by troops or cavalry troops, which ends up summoning a massive army of goblin troops, which of course shocks everyone, including Ainz. And Ainz kind of looks at that item as like, wasn't meant to have much purpose, it was just a weak item, but there clearly was a hidden effect. And there's been a lot of fan theories on what that hidden effect is. I think a lot of it came down to the fact that she just built a lot of respect with the goblin army. As she built other skills up as well, it helped contribute towards that, which allowed her to summon that massive army. But I think the big contributing factor was the fact that she had a very good relationship with the goblins that she had already initially summoned. I think that's one of the big contributing factors, whether you add other stuff to it as well. I think there's clearly other stuff that weighed on it, but I just feel like that was the most important one to me. But again, that is just a theory. I think it all just depends on individuals. I've seen many other theories where other people have come up with, so it's just to each their own. That's just my personal one. You do not have to agree with me. But it is one of my favorite scenes because they are very much backed up against the wall, and especially leading on from volume 7 itself, you have all the other stuff that happened in volume 8. It really just adds a nice flavor to how volume 9 ends from that point of view, and especially leading on from volume 7 and volume 8 added all into that, it just had a really nice conclusion. But that is one major part of this volume, and I feel like the big major stuff is of course to do with Florderos, as I again always butcher his name if I get it right or not, with everything going on with the Emperor. There's a lot of crazy stuff in this volume when it comes to them, and I kind of like him, but at the same time I really pity him because it feels like he's just been played like a fiddle. And he does go into it very much with this whole mindset of just basically just bending the knee. He's just like, yep, let's do an alliance, there's no point fighting against you. And it's very clear why he does that, and it's very clear that Ainz and Demiurge planned that from the very beginning, that they would demonstrate their raw power. But to be honest, I don't know, from my point of view, if I was in his position, I would not think anyone would betray Ainz. Because, again, his whole plan is hoping that he can build a mass resistance with everyone else rallying together and trying to go against the Sorcerer King, and hoping to get Demiurge to also join in them to turn against them. It's just, to me, it's just like, have you not seen his raw power? It is very much. He's playing into Ainz's hands and Demiurge's hands, which is clear as day because that's the whole point. Now, duh, Captain Obvious. But at the same time, it just feels like you would think he would have clued on to that. He's a smart person, I'll give him that, because one of the passing comments they make is about how he wants to find a wife outside of Kingdom itself, or the Empire, should I say, and he basically notes that he doesn't want to find someone in there, and someone notices on Rune, and he very much points out that she's smart, but she does stuff deliberately wrong. Like, she comes up with ideas that are bad deliberately, and he's kind of twigged to that, and it's clear as day that he knows there's a weird personality hiding in her. Like, he's not stupid, so it does feel like he is quite an intelligent individual, and that's what I do like about him. But at the same time, I mean, it's hard for him because he is very much backed up against the wall. Even his own trusted individual that he's got close to him has basically turned on him, and he realizes that when going back home, that clearly that's the case because he didn't even want to stay at the tomb. His obsession, Flota's obsession with magic and seeing into the abyss, he basically was just like, yeah, I'm ready to go home. A kid at a candy store, and them just being like, yep, I've had enough, I'm going home. It's like, no, something's up. You clearly know more than you're leading on, and as he points out, clearly he wasn't surprised because he's already been there before. So it's clear as day, and I mean, obviously, I'm just pointing out what's obvious, but to his point of view, that's what he's working out piece by piece. So he has clued on, but what he does from there is, again, completely up to him. He's very much not got that many options, and that's why he said that he won't create a resistance. He has to allow others to see Ainz's power and then hope that they all muster together to make a resistance, which we all know that's not going to work out in their favor, but that's the best that they can do. Which then leads into Ainz and Demiurge's plan of showing their sovereignty, their land. It's crazy. It's really crazy, just the actual raw power that Ainz has, because he takes out like 70,000 troops in just one go. Like, the true despair that the opposition would have is understandable. And the funniest part about it is when the reports came back to the Emperor and they're like, oh yeah, we had some casualties, but not from the battle. They just completely lost their marbles and just died from fear because of just the raw power that Ainz has. I will say it was kind of funny because Ainz was doing the whole spell to kind of being very cautious that he is, to see if any player would try and jump him while he's doing a massive spell that takes a really long time. But then he ended up using a cash shop item to make that spell instant. I don't know. I'm a stooge when it comes to, or Scrooge, sorry, when it comes to things. I would have just casted out the spell really slowly just to drag it out and then do it, not use the cash shop item. But at the same time, he has noted that they have so many cash shop items built up that it's just an insane amount because he's spent so much money on that game. It's understandable maybe why he just throws them aside, because it's just, to him, there's just so many of them. So I thought it was a really interesting volume from the perspective of the Emperor himself and how he has to overcome this, and then doing the whole sort of annual fight, but instead having Ainz there to show the power as a way to demonstrate to everyone, like as a world stage. But at the same time, what his objective was and what Ainz's objective was is very different. But at the same time, I don't think the Emperor really just anticipated just how much power Ainz had. Like, he knew Ainz was strong, but it was just another level even above that again. And that's what makes it more funny, is that you see the despair in their eyes when they think, oh my god, he is so powerful, there's 6-tier spells being used and even higher, but then they realize, oh wait, it goes even above that. Because in their initial mind, they're thinking probably 6th to 8th tier is what they're using, and they think that's mind-boggling. And then it goes even beyond that to 10th tier, and then there's other spells even above that again. It just completely boggles their mind. They can't comprehend just the sheer power and scope that he possesses, which is why it's understandable that some troops may have ended up dying from just complete shock. And then also my favorite part is when they're talking about like the troops mustering out, and Ainz is like, oh yeah, I'll bring my troops, and they're like, oh yeah, that'd be really helpful, but you don't have enough time to muster your troops out. And he's like, oh, Shaltir, just open up a portal behind me, rolls out the Death Knights. And that's just where it shows not just the power that he controls in the sense of like his Death Knight army and how scary that is, but the fact that he can just summon it right behind him. He is a walking army. He can just roll up to a battlefield on his own and then just have Shaltir summon it, boom, his army's right behind him. And so it just shows just the sheer scope of his power. It's just the one thing that I've always loved and enjoyed about Overlord, is seeing how people perceive his power from a first impressions, and then seeing the scope, and then seeing how it can be used in a battle format. It would be really nice to actually see what it would be like if he actually had someone that could give him a run for his money, because of seeing like Nazarick at its full like power, going full throttle at someone. But at the end of the day, there's no one that's going to be even able to scratch Nazarick, Ainz, all that army. So it's just, to me, I would love to see someone give a challenge. That way we can see everything that they're fully capable of. Every unit, every ability, every client, like just everything possible, every item that they have at their disposal. I just really want to see it, because it just gives us an idea of all the different types of systems that the writer has in mind. But again, that's just me kind of having that geeky moment of that kind of D&D mindset of being like exploring what could be, hiding in Nazarick. So again, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you think of this volume? Very much looking forward to, again, reading, of course, the volumes beyond that, and of course the newest volume coming out, or should be already out, and then the next one coming out next month. So whenever I upload this, it could be whenever. So again, love to know your thoughts. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more anime content, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.